Yeah, yeah.
We are the epitome of Black female love.
It's
Yeah.
easy for us as Black women to hold up the banner and the call for everyone else. But again, who holds up the banner and the calls for us? What role does the church play in all of this stuff?
Is that we as a Black church are perpetuating the same behavior as a patriarchal evangelicals have been
That's
doing.
right. And guess
Church, but it's the sisters in the congregation.
But it's a lot of times it is the Black women who bring us down more, or push or try to silence our voices more in the Black church.
Hello, my sisters. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, 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 hello. How are you?
Viewing audience, let us know that you are here, where it is that you're listening from. I do want to say at the top of our broadcast again, we will be missing our co-host on today, Dr. Charles Bradford. She has some major duties that she has to handle on this week, and so our prayers are with her as she continues in this endeavor. For those of you who are part of our audience, let us know that you are here. Do a shout out to us. And so let's see. Last week we started with Dr. Wright. Dr. Wallace, let's start with you. How are things going for you in the ATL?
Things are going busy than ever. My CPE classes that are with CPEO, the ITC class for pastoral care, the CME CPE class, I'm stretched as much as I can be stretched. But we are counting down, and we need money and prayers for Stacey Abrams. She's trailing right now, Kemp. However, Warnock is up over climate change. Well, I can't call the man name.
Walker. Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker. Yeah. So we're hoping that stays. So please send your 2 pennies to both Stacey and to Warnock so that we can continue to keep Georgia blue.
Wow, and wow, it's amazing to look at the fact that even Warnock and Walker are even close.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I do hope that Abrams is able to come up on the positive over Kemp on this year. So yes, viewing audience, let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're here. Dr. Wright, how are you?
I am doing wonderful in this hot, hot city. It could be worse. It just could be worse. So I'm grateful that I can feel the heat. And Dr. Wallace, I just want to say, it's very obvious you are in your element, because she just lit up when she started saying, and the IBC and the.
I love it. I love it. It works me to death, but I love it.
Oh, sweetie, I am celebrating you so much. You're wearing it well. You look like your decision.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you, sis.
Looking forward to seeing you all this week in Dallas. Very excited. Very excited.
Amen. Amen. So you all, I have to be honest, I missed, the funeral came on before my wake time, but I did get the chance to see snippets of the funeral yesterday. Did we watch the final celebration of Queen Elizabeth? I saw someone post on Facebook and says, hey, her funeral was only an hour, right? Then somebody else said, well, it was kind of like 11 days, but that was what I call, I call that maybe an 11-day wake. I'm not sure how we want to say that, but what about that? What caused people to be so engaged in watching Queen Elizabeth?
I think it was so much curiosity because this is a woman that has served for 70 years. It was a lot of mixed emotions because I saw them interview a guy from a part of Africa, and I don't recall what country it was. However, he said, "You're telling us to celebrate." He said, "Celebrate what? This is a woman whose reign plundered our country. They devastated. He said, they killed my father. He said, my father couldn't hear, or my uncle was deaf. And my uncle was walking, and a British soldier called out to him, and my uncle kept walking, and they shot him dead." He said, "What do you want me to celebrate? Celebrate that she's gone?" He said, "That's what I'll celebrate." So there were a lot of mixed emotions. Then they had the big deal about Meghan Markle had a tear on her cheek. Okay, so she got a little emotional, and then the baby broke down and cried. And so a lot of things going on there, a lot of mixed feelings.
Well, I can definitely understand that. I know that in many of the places of the colonization of Britain, and that will come. I have to say, for me, and thank you, Dr. Mason, it was like a fairy tale come alive. It was majestic. I was watching, as I said, caught the end part of the service, then what we call the committal part. And it just made, I just had such a full appreciation for ceremony on yesterday, that we're kind of like in this time and this season, of how people you just do what you want to do this, but the ceremony, right? The regalness of it, right? The precision, the pomp and circumstance, the precision, right? And for me, it was like there is indeed a time and a place, right, for everything. And I have to say that I fully appreciated that, seeing that. I appreciate it because also the awareness of there being another queen in my lifetime, because you look at there's Charles and there's William and then there's his oldest son and the princess, right? So the possibility, right, of there being another queen, in the next 200 years is minimal. And so to see, this woman celebrated was quite tremendous.
The thing for me, Dr. Burns, is that she was one of the first leaders of a country, the first that we, the people and the women that came after her, even though Thatcher and all of them. The one thing that I've heard some Africans in Britain say is that the one thing that joins us together is the monarchy. We can all rally around the monarchy. Even though we got all of our other problems, we got all of our other issues, we can at least come together around that. The thing that bothers me about and this was really highlighted by one of my siblings, my sister. She said, and we were all talking about how great and how wonderful and how beautiful all of the pageantry was and how magnificent it was. She says that she said, I like Queen Elizabeth, but the thing I hold against her is that if she had said something to the staff and to her family about Meghan, they would not have had to leave, because if she had opened her mouth and said, stop treating her this way, it would have silenced it all. So I have to repeat that. I thought that was really kind of insightful.
Okay. Y'all, y'all Black women act like y'all know everything that go on in folks' houses and what get told out in the public. Okay then. All right. All right.
With her statue, it would have been.
Okay, but we don't know.
But I don't even think she
know.
particularly cared for Megan. So
I never got that. I always understood that the tension was somewhere around the brother and somebody else. But again, since we know what go on in your houses, then we can go ahead and
concerned
say,
about
well,
Archie's little complexion.
we don't. That was hearsay.
Oh, well,
that was British tabloid media. Okay, and to think about it, right? That if that really fully was the case, would Harry and Meghan? Harry might have been there because of his grandmother. Would Meghan have been there? Because they don't have any royal duties. And so where was the tension? Everything I heard in the report was the tension between the brothers. I heard nothing said about tension with the Queen.
No. That's not what I'm offering.
You're talking about
offering is that everybody listens to what the Queen says.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Queen had squashed the argument, it might have been different. That's all.
It might have been. You got two brothers, military. All right, y'all. I hear what y'all saying. Y'all wanna blame the Queen for something that the tabloid has said. I know y'all. All y'all black folks tell all y'all business in the house. Okay, thank you, Godiva. In the interview with Oprah, Meghan said the Queen was very kind to her. Yes. So since we are talking about monarchies, we're gonna get on here because I'm gonna long live the Queen. We can't long live the Queen because the Queen dead. All right.
A little late.
Yep.
That Uber is gone.
And so, okay, all right. So listen, and thank you all for the shout outs. Let us know you're here. Yvonne Williams, thank you so very much. LaDarian Jones, thank you so very much. Renee Thompson Jones, yes, thank you. And yes, y'all keep tagging, and sharing. Since we are talking about the monarchy, all right, we're gonna give y'all a minute to jump off, all right? Because if you have not seen The Woman King, all right, you don't want to listen to the rest of this, okay? Because we are going to spoil this for you, all right? We are going to spoil it for you. So if you have not gone to see The Woman King, starring Viola Davis, all right, come back, watch us later. But don't forget to come back and watch us later and to see, what it is that we're talking about. All right. But we're about to talk about The Woman King. So if you've not seen The Woman King, we're trying to give you some time. I know there's a time delay. All right. We will spoil this for you. The monarchy. Okay, first I'm gonna start. I walked at that theater. All right, we're gonna give you. Okay, Wallace, turn down. It's a whole new season. Wallace, it's a whole new season.
You have the phone. Why do you have to do two silences? You have the phone already on silence, and then you get to Facebook and it's still on. Y'all gotta help me with that. I'm trying. Y'all know I'm trying.
3-year-old and give them that phone, girl.
I'm trying.
All right. Okay.
Somebody say hello from California.
So the movie was over, and I was speechless. I was stunned. Okay, so ladies, you all have seen it. What do you remember as being your initial reaction by the time the movie ended?
Look, when those sisters walked into that fort and where they were selling the slaves, and they marched in and they stopped, and all the white slave owners started turning and looking, none of them said anything, except for one guy turned around and said, "Who are they?" And the guy told him, "Those are the bloodiest in Africa." And they were soon to find out who those girls were. And it was not a game. I was really kind of proud of that.
It
fight.
did. It made me proud too, right, Dr. Wright. I was the whole movie
Right.
moved me to pride. Even some of the sadder parts when the young lady that had supported the daughter got killed. That wailing, my heart just sunk. Because I didn't and to think about, she was the main one to say never go back for somebody.
Right.
And yet
Right.
she turned around and was going,
Right.
got killed because she was going back to save someone.
Right.
That had my heart aching.
Oh,
Even though it was a movie, even though I knew it was a movie.
Renee, go ahead and hang on in here. Go ahead, Renee. Go ahead and hang it. So let's start. I'm gonna start with let's start with sexuality, the eunuch that was that served the king. All right, let's see, Daniela Bailey. What is it that says? Yeah.
It shows the power of love. Even though she said it, she loved her so much that she was willing to go back on what she said because of that love.
Amen. Amen.
Friend loveth at all times.
Well, you know, we get all crazy about the eunuch, and
who I'm sorry, I'm sorry, master counselor accreditation of clinical pastoral education. I need to know who this we is that you
the Black church has not embraced homosexuality to its full.
Did you say that word? We don't talk. I'm glad I got on my black pearls.
Do we ordain people that are that say and are out and say that they are homosexual in the Black church? Tell me, what church?
Talking about the monarchy. How do you flip on the church? Let's just talk about the Black community. Can't I just y'all just
the Black community is still in the dark ages.
You know they got medication for that, Dr. Wallace.
Say that again.
They got medication for that, and it come in gummy form.
So go ahead. Here it is that this, like you're saying, here's this eunuch.
It was even in Jesus's time, and they were not ridiculed.
Back on the scripture, we're talking about a movie. You see,
with a true story backdrop.
That's right. And he was not shamed. He was not ridiculed. He was allowed to be who he was. Praise be to God. Thanks be to the Lord.
Well, you say praise be to God, but in this movie, there was a different kind of understanding about God than what white Christianity has given us.
Come on now. So let's move from religion to spirituality.
Correct. Because in the movie, it was very understood. And when we get the title, right, we already gave break. We y'all hadn't seen the movie. We're talking about the woman king. But it was the understanding of the king that in order to make the gods happy, that it was understanding of both of the female and the male god. Yes, no. What's that?
I didn't pick that up, but I can appreciate what you're saying.
Okay, yeah,
I didn't pick that up in the movie.
Yeah, so that was the whole thing of understanding with the throne, right? That it was making having to make the gods happy, and that was that understanding of this, of the equality that the king wanted to honor that and understood the fullness that the male and the female were equal and that needed to be represented by the throne because that was also the representation of the God that they served.
Okay, so
how does that have to do? What does that have to do with the eunuch?
But wait a minute. She's saying
I moved from the because you want to talk about white Christianity.
Okay,
Okay, I moved from the
okay. I just didn't know we moved and shifted because I agree with you wholeheartedly with what you were saying.
Okay.
That's
but
why we had to have a male
wait a minute,
king
Dr.
and a
Wallace.
female king. I'm good.
She's saying that they wanted to show that they were equal. Well, if they were equal, how come the women couldn't have families, but the men got to have families? How come the women had to remain virgins, but the men was out there acting like rabbits?
Or they had to hide, which is why the daughter was sent away.
Yeah, hold on before we get hold on before let's before we get to what was sent away, because those who might just be watching it right and took it all the way over here. Let's about this in for spirituality for us, because in truth, we did, one of the things about Black Panther, right, that we look at the power of the woman, but the woman could be in power, but that was fiction, right? We say, oh, so we could dismiss it as fiction, but now we have this true story, and it seems like, well, at least within this tribe of the Dahomey people, right, that it was not a fear of the strength of a woman, and the woman's strength did not cause the man to seem as though he was weak. Is that a possibility for this? Yomi Clark, we're talking about the movie The Woman King.
No, because the rewritten text has told us that the woman is the weaker vessel.
Well, see, that's if we buy into what all hook, line, and sinker of what the colonizers have put forth to us.
There we go.
It may not be, and if we were okay with embracing our African spirituality, we may still be where the Woman King and the Black folk in that movie were.
Look, my brothers and I fought, and they beat me like a redheaded stepchild. And I realized then I was not the weaker vessel, because I grew up to beat them up.
I'm with you, girlfriend. I'm with you. I had cousins that I had to whip.
Till you do right by me, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The movie itself reflected such a positive image in so many ways. It also gave some negative vibes, but what I'm coming to understand more than anything is that's who they were. Culturally, that was their background. That's what they did. And even in one part of the movie, when the general comes in, which was Viola Davis, and she says to the king, she says, just because your brother did this and just because your daddy did this doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And so it was important enough to her. She valued her people enough to be scrutinized for the change, because there were people saying, we can't do this. This is what basically the queen, the king's wife, wanted to keep doing it because it was making her rich. She was living good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you mentioned the queen's wife. What about that? Or I mean, did the tension between the two, or did you even perceive that there was tension between the two?
It was jealousy.
Yeah,
it was jealousy, because she at one point she goes.
Hold on a second, right? That's not the same color fingernail polish you had on last week. You go to the shop every week because your nails look new.
Not.
Because your nails look new last week. Okay, do y'all see that? Okay, all right, okay. Go ahead, keep saying what you were saying.
She can afford to go every week. I can't go but every 3 weeks.
I'm retired. Hello, I earned the right to go. Now
they look good though, right? They look good.
They're pretty, yes. I just noticed. Flash. Yeah, new color.
However,
when I grow up,
there was jealousy, because at one point she says, if you and I team up and become friends, I got the king's ear. And sis let her tell her story, and she wasn't trying to be boastful or prideful or even going after her man. Let's go there. Mm-hmm. She wasn't trying to hook up with her man, but she let her know under no certain circumstances, I got his ear for real. Mm-hmm. Because they had history, they had time together, so which takes it to another level, because there are many people that don't feel like a male and a female can be friends without there being something added to it. Mm-hmm. They were friends. They grew up together. She had fought for him. She had fought battles for him. He respected her.
And the wife, what was she doing? I mean, she didn't protect him. Viola, the queen, the woman king was a person who brought protection for the king, not the wife. It was the woman king. So he had to keep, in my mind, her voice was most important.
Yes.
And he had to listen to her, even when it went against some of their tradition.
Yes.
He listened to her, which I thought was good.
So can we as women coexist with opposing views and when there is the same male that it appears is the center of the attention?
I believe that we can, because quite frankly, there are some very, very intelligent men that, number one, are not intimidated just because you got on some pumps. There are some
that you got a brain.
Hello, there are some men that are confident and love the fact that you will shine and will encourage you to shine. Hello, I got one. Anyway, will encourage you to shine. While on the other hand, there's that select group that finds it a problem. Well, just because
okay, but so I'm not talking about the male perspective. I'm asking if two women can coexist within the same power structure when there's a male that is at the center of it.
If we don't ride on traditional things.
When the daddy, someone read that.
When the daddy tried to sell his daughter off to the monster, but the baby, she slapped his tail on the ground. Yeah. She should have slapped her daddy. Slapped her daddy too. I'm just saying. Okay, I know turn the other cheek. Yeah, right. I'm not Jesus. Okay.
Okay.
And I agree. Okay. Two women can coexist, but we have to have that happy medium. Can we be free to disagree and still do it in love and not be disrespectful? Many people,
and I think that occurs where you have a strong female assistant pastor or co-pastor, and that is not the wife of the pastor. I think it can exist. I agree with you, Dr. Wright, that it can coexist, and we provide somewhat of a model. Even though it's not over a man, we have different opinions and we agree to disagree. We don't walk away because we disagree. So there is a model for loving each other through disagreements.
Well, there's the catty group, and then there's the mature group.
I want to say this. Hold a second. I want to say this. I see that Dr. Van Williams is apparently in the room that Viola Davis responds to criticism about the woman king. He put the link in the chat. So those of you in the chat, click that after the show, not now, after the show. All right.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
so go
going
ahead.
there, okay. Dr. Williams, as soon as we get off of here.
But we have to, I think with time and as we become more mature, we do better. When you know better, you do better.
Well, you said we become more mature. The most kindness I've seen has been between older women. I have not seen older women show younger women the way. And I hear you all being what I consider optimistic. But I'm asking the question: when there's a man in the center, one individual is sexually involved with the man,
Okay.
Another is not, but perhaps is deemed to be. Can two women coexist in this space?
Well,
Now before Wallace wanted to jump on about the church when we talked about the unit. Now she's just rubbing her neck when we asking the two women, and she ain't said nothing.
I just said that yes, it can coexist. I do believe it can coexist. Now, whether it's optimistic, whether it's hopeful, I cannot name. Well, I can. I worked as assistant pastor at the historic Ebenezer as a assistant pastor. The wife and I, Sister Jeannie and I, got along very well. She was a chemist, I was a mathematician, but we both had Pastor Robert's ear. It wasn't like I had his ear only and she had his ear only. We both had Pastor Robert's ear.
Well, here, Apostle Samuel Abbott is on, and he says, yes, you can coexist.
I think so. I think it has happened even when Dr. Sharon Austin, the first female assistant pastor at the historic Ebenezer, there was some coexistence. So the pastor has to be secure enough, as you say, Dr. Wright, to allow both voices to be heard. That's my example. That's the only example I have.
Okay.
But I think
okay. So we have one woman on here that's saying you're not gonna be able to have my man ear though. You're not gonna be able to say that again.
She said that's a no.
Okay. All right. We're back to the
Apostle different things. It's about different things. It's not. When it comes, the wife may not be the expert or have gone to seminary or have the expertise that the assistant pastor has. And I think that's the only example. We don't have kings and queens in this country.
No.
The only example I can draw from is from the church example. And yes, it can coexist. And yes, they both can have the ear of the man. I'm going to stay right there.
Okay.
Dr. Van Williams says the woman. That's the woman king. It's trending.
Hashtag boycott the woman king is trending. On Black Twitter, and even Black women are part of the movement. When you have time, maybe a later show, I would like to hear your positions on this. Lord, we're gonna have to go find out why they boycott.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Exactly.
Unless they are so religiously and holier than thou that they have bought hook, line, and sinker into the colonizers' idea of spirituality.
Well, they get in the church and dance just like the girls on the show did, so they shouldn't have a problem.
Okay, let's see. Some women aren't mature enough to be the other woman. Come on, be honest. Okay.
Apostle Samuel Abbott said, my wife respected Pastor, and Pastor Starr respected my wife because his wife was co-pastor. Pastor Starr also worked in their ministry. He said they had their areas that my screen.
They were strong. Mm-hmm.
That they were strong in, and it worked. And yes, it can. I believe that it can. But then on the other side, you know what? I'm just gonna go there. Women know women, and men know men. So if the agenda's right, it'll be all right. But if your agenda ain't right, I might see you in the parking lot.
Okay, so back to this boycotting of this. It says, the Black Mermaid. There was a lot of folk upset.
I'm out of it. I got my classes. I don't know nothing about this one. This is new, completely new to me. So you all gonna have to help me with this.
So let's look at this. We talk about the coexisting, if it can coexist. Now, this movie also dealt with a truth about slavery.
Mm.
Um, do we want to talk about that truth that the movie brought out?
Well, the woman king stood up against it.
Pastor Pamela Berry says that it can coexist if there is respect and boundaries
I agree
Okay.
set
with
with understanding from all parties.
that. Hmm.
And boundaries is a big word.
Very important. That's very, very important. And
Okay.
that's where and I think that's where the rubber meets the road. The woman king maintained her boundaries. I maintain my boundaries in the church.
Okay.
So because of that, I think
Okay.
it
All
works.
right. Okay. So now let's
Let's
shift.
go
Let's
to
talk
the
about the
slavery.
role of slave trade. This
Uh,
part of the history of the slave trade that was portrayed in there. And let's see, Dr. Van Williams again. The issues that the tribe portrayed in the movie historically participated in the slave trade. Let's talk about this what the movie did deal with
Mhm.
of their participation in that and what yeah. What about that when we look at slavery?
but in it wasn't one of the, it became about money. I say so many times we pick up habits, and we have to be aware of what habits we take on. This was something new to them. Um, the they had something they could have traded, but it wasn't what the colonizers wanted. And instead of stopping the process, they became a part of the problem. And the woman king or the general, she stood up to it saying, it doesn't matter. At one point, she said, we have gold, we have palm oil, we have other things that we can sell. And he said, you're right, you're right. So we won't sell any Dahomey. She said, no, we won't sell Africans. They're all our people. And so there was that mindset and that unity and that love and that passion for her people versus just a tribe.
Well, I agree with you, Dr. Wright, in that um, there were many tribes in Africa that sold black folk, that
Yes,
sold their
their people.
other tribes. So, and if you do a DNA test, you might find out that many of us come from the same region because of how the trade the tribe was so strong that they bound many of our ancestors into slavery. I was just happy to see a true story where someone stood up and said, no, this we are not going to continue to participate in our bringing down or selling of our black people. We're not going to continue this participation, and that's where I want to see some apologies, not all the time from the colonizers, but had the black folk not sold us to colonizers, we wouldn't have had no slave trade.
Yvonne Williams says we complain about we as black people having no position, especially black women. Um, and it's not that we don't have position, but I was thinking that she was talking about the
She was speaking to our previous issue.
I need new glasses. Okay.
Okay, and so Sayana Casey says we're human and greed is in us too. All right,
True.
all right. Let's see. He's trying to stokify. So, for the sake of discussion, people are saying that that aspect of the tribe's history is downplayed, or overlooked in the movie, even though it's well documented in his story. Okay, history. Okay.
So that I want to
we
say,
know we're
Dr.
talking.
Williams,
We know
is
you're
Dr. Williams saying that there were other instances where Black people said, no, we're not going to sell other Black folk. Is that the
No,
point
he's saying that the role was downplayed, that it wasn't portrayed as powerfully as it actually happened.
Right. So the Dahomey people, my understanding, and it wasn't the Central Force as much as we heard it through Viola Davis's role, is that both the Dahomey people and the tribe, what we call the antagonists, right? They were both working together, enslavement of Black people.
At one point,
but the Dahomey, but the way the movie portrayed it, if I'm hearing correct, the way the movie portrayed it was downplaying the role that the Dahomey tribe really played in the slave trade. But for me, that was where the woman king's voice became most loud in saying to the king, "We must stop this." Right? We must stop it. Right? That we have other resources that we can also use in doing this. But I had this question because whenever we look on history with normally, I'm not going to say because we're in a generation now in America that people look back on history but anyway, but right. But normally when we look back on history, we have more clarity of thought, right? When we're looking back on history because we know the results. That slave trade within among Africans it's always been in human existence. It's in scripture, it's always been there. But was it understood in the same manner?
This was a first chattel slavery, I believe. There were slaves, yes, in biblical times, but it was nowhere near the same.
No. What I'm asking is, that's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking is, was there an awareness that when they quote sold into slavery, that there was an understanding of the kind of slavery they were selling into, or did they make the assumption that it was similar to what was happening among themselves within the continent? That's the question I'm asking. And with that question, I'm also asking, as we look at the what we call the mulatto who comes into the picture, right? That what was the real significance of him being brought into this picture of finding home in the midst of this? You see what I'm saying? What were they really saying? Are they saying that okay, they're sold off and their children, he comes back dressed? What was that message in that with him?
A couple things could have happened. All of it is speculation. One of the things that could have happened is that mulattoes did come back and say how awful the chattel slavery was. That's one thing that could have happened. I don't know. But with him, his mother, he knew both his mother, his white father, and his Black mother. And his mother constantly talked about how proud she was of her people, which made him want to seek out and find home. He wanted to come and find where he came from. Who were these people that my mother was a part of? And I show oftentimes Antoine Fisher to my students, where it is important for us to make peace with our history, with our herstory, with where we come from. We cannot be whole until we know where we come from.
See, you threw in
that was another
earlier.
True story.
Yeah.
Antoine Fisher was another.
That was a powerful movie as well. Yes. Yeah. Boy, our comment line got quiet on us. What we say? We hit a nerve with you all. What happened? What happened? Right. Right. How did you see the role of the mulatto in the midst of that?
Before or after? Because he was really easy on the eyes. Oh, You come. Oh, okay. I'm back. I'm back. Um,
They did choose a good one.
I can see real good. I felt like, um, part of it was the this is the product of that was made from the white slave owner, and as I've shared, my family discovered that we all there, y'all, all in the kitchen, and so for him, I mean, what's on the inside of you is what's going to come out. His heart and his passion, regardless of who his father was to know who he really was. And the only way that people, I believe, can really identify who they are is to go be around those people. We've been told, when I took my husband to Africa, my husband came out of the bedroom and I said, "Are you good?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "I just told God I'm sorry." I said, "Okay." He said, how do we complain about anything?" He said, "They're so grateful. They're so loving." He said, "All we see on TV is the giraffes running by and the monkeys swinging out the trees." He said, "These homes are fabulous. They're gorgeous. They're 3 times bigger than some of the homes that we own. But we've been showed so much negative stuff. And until people actually get in and identify and go back and see where you come from." A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and it has been so ingrained in us what we are. And if we don't go outside and try to find out who we really are, it's, yes, he was a mulatto, but at the end of it, if you ask him, he's going to tell you, "I'm a Dahomey." It was more important to him to be a part of that tribe and identify with those people than it was to be a mulatto slave baby.
Well, the other piece of it is, and I've not been, both of you have been to Africa. It is still one of the things on my bucket list.
Waiting on you.
That I really want to do. But what I have heard from some of the professors at the ITC is that when they go to Africa, the people there are so glad to see them. We were, and it's as if we were wondering when you were going to come home. So I've not had that experience, but it sounds like that's what was happening with the mulatto, that he had that experience of wanting to be with his people. He knew what it was like to be in his white father's with his white father's people. What he didn't know was what it might be like to be with his mother's people.
And just to add to that, because it impacted him so. Do you remember the part where he cut the slaves loose and told his friend bye-bye?
Yeah, and I think one of our
he
viewers
found a conscience.
One of our viewers comment on that said it reminded her of Moses when he found his history. Yeah. We have this question that comes up, and talk about, is that why some blacks have no problem killing other blacks, black slavery,
Ooh.
Part of that
that's a very, very good question. We need some research on that one, because I am curious about where we get this current mentality, because we didn't always have this kill each other mentality at the drop of a hat, over some gum or something stupid. So I don't know why we kill each other. I really would like to know what that's about.
There's no good excuse for it. We've lost respect for life, and it is so very sad, because don't just kill each other, we kill other people, and vice versa. And when I'm gonna go there for you techies. Some of these things that you see. Okay, let me back up. Now I'm gonna date myself. How many of y'all remember Roadrunner? Me. That little booger would drop irons off of mountains on top of Wile E. Coyote's head. He would crash him into the wall. He'd do all kind of stuff. Then let's go to Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny did some of the crazy stuff to Elmer Fudd. We watched these things, and at first it was funny, and then it has become a reality through the games. And one of the craziest games I ever saw was Grand Theft Auto, and the maneuvering, and it's a mindset, and after a while it just
so I consider it more around socialization and the continued sense of powerlessness and helplessness. That first in for American culture, English culture, if we might say, that when you are constantly told that you have no value, then what do you do with things that are valueless, right? You discard those things, right? Because they become worthless to you. You know, it's like an empty ink cartridge, right? If you have no use for it, it no longer has worth. What do? You discard it. You have no consideration for it. So if that is what in everything in our society, if we are told that pale skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, when it becomes the standard for everything, even the white Jesuses many of us have, and we won't go into that discussion about the color of Jesus and all those things. But if that is all you kneel to, then what you buy into is that what you see in the mirror has no value. And so what you see back has no value, then it's discarding or it's killing or it's mutilation. It means nothing. Society said
Dr. Burns, I also believe it goes back to the Willie Lynch letter, that we are continually following that hating each other. We're finding ways to be separate instead of finding ways to come together.
And I guess for me, not to disagree, but perhaps to go the next step, I don't think that we are finding ways. I think we have been socialized to think that way.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what the Willie Lynch letter did. It socialized everybody to think that we were.
And Willie, and so I don't necessarily want to deal with the historical context of Willie Lynch. And I hear it, I've read it, whether it's accurate or not, but the substance of it, of what it means. I think we have been socialized, and it becomes the onus on us to find our way to our humanity and to define it. But the problem comes is that when you continue to attempt to define your humanity, your personhood, within a context that is dehumanizing you, then what happens is that those other voices who don't see value in their own color then join the forces against you as you are finding your own value, right? And so
we need to be the woman king. We have got to figure out how all of us can be the woman king, to say no more, no, to stand up to oppression and say enough is enough. We all have to have that same pride in who we are.
Yes, we do. My goodness.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell the end of the story because we're not going to spoil the end of it for you. That part is absolutely powerful. If you have not seen The Woman King, put it on your list. Again, as I said at the top of this, I was speechless. I walked out and I was just like, oh,
Totally
wow.
different reaction from Honk for Jesus, huh?
I still want my money back. I want my money and my time back. Okay. All right. I'm gonna put Honk for Jesus. Right. I want that. And they dealt with some stuff, and we realize, but y'all who saw it on Peacock, that's one thing. I got in my car and drove to the movie theater and bought some popcorn.
So glad I didn't pay for that. So glad.
But Dr. Wallace, I think our guest on next week is one of your invitees. So please tell us about our guest
Yes,
next
we
week.
will be having none other than the Dr. Fleta Jackson. She has done exceptional work around women and fetal mortalities and how the stress of Black women causes us to discharge our babies too soon.
Wow.
And it's not necessarily, and see, this is where that whole discussion I'm hoping will come up again around Roe v. Wade, because the stress by itself, and it's documented, has caused many a woman to abort her babies, not because of someone had she went to an abortion clinic, but because of the stress that Black women endure in this country causes us to lose our babies.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to our discussion.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I think it was this morning while I was waiting on my chai tea that I saw, I think I want to say it was MSNBC on this morning, and they were talking about mortality rates among pregnancy and the disparities of it. It is a major issue. So those of you all, please plan to join us on next week. We thank you for continuing to be a part of us here. And so until we have a chance to join each other again, have an awesome week. And thank you for joining us, Time of Wisdom, same time next week. God bless.
Thank you all. Thank you all.